Yeah, we can reveal that 22% of you strongly support the government's blocking of the bill, compared to 18% who said they were strongly opposed to the decision.
Well, despite the mixed views on the reform bill, a vast majority of people asked said they believe that 16 years old is simply too young to change their gender. 41% completely agreed, compared to only 8% who said they completely disagreed that 16 years old is too young.
OK, let's try to pack it all with the co-founder of Conservatives Against Racism, Albie Amankona, who's here. Good to see you, Albie.
Good morning.
What is interesting, I think, in this is the number of people, I mean, it's split pretty evenly, who think the government are either right or wrong to enforce Section 35, is it?
Yes, Section 35.
To block what has been voted through in the Scottish Parliament. So it's not, regardless of their views of the bill itself, it's whether they think the British government is acting in the right way.
And I think that's the core question. It's a very mixed polling result that we've seen from this GBNews poll. And I think it is mostly, not necessarily because of the subject of gender recognition reform, but whether or not the government was right to invoke this Section 35 action, which has never been invoked before in the whole history of the Scottish Parliament post-devolution, I think in 1999, if I remember correctly, and whether or not it's right for Westminster to essentially override what Nicola Sturgeon would call the will of the Scottish people, because, of course, this was on the manifesto of the Scottish National Party in the last Scottish national elections.
So mixed views on the government's response, but it does seem that the majority agree that 16 years old is too young to change your gender. That seemed pretty clear from the poll, didn't it?
Yes, that did seem quite clear from the poll. And this is actually one of the sticking points that you hear people speaking about quite a lot, whether or not 16 years old is too young to be changing gender. Of course, in Scotland, they would argue, well, they can vote in Scottish elections at 16, and so why can't they decide to change their gender at 16? Obviously, here in England and in the rest of the UK in general elections, the voting age is 18. So there are some discrepancies between England and Scotland with regards to the ages to do things. But I think the general consensus of the British public is that 16 is too young. They want the medical diagnosis to remain, and they think the 3-month period that you have to live in your desired gender is actually too short, and that 2 years, which is the current scheme, is the right amount of time.
I mean, we're told the government is bringing in the Section 35 unwillingly, that there is a sort of legal necessity for it because of the way, obviously, someone who changed their gender between the ages of 16 and 18 in Scotland, if they then came to England, how legally that would work. Is that a legitimate argument, do we think? I mean, it all gets very, very complicated.
It does get very complicated. You get people on either side of the argument talking about different things. I think one of the major sticking points is that by bringing the age down to 16, it throws up a lot of complications with schooling. Because at the moment, with the age to acquire a gender recognition certificate being 18, there is actually no intersection with what happens at school in the United Kingdom at the moment. For example, if there were single-sex schools and a boy who changed his gender into becoming a woman or a girl at that age wanted to go to a girls' school, that doesn't happen at the moment because the age is 18. Whereas if Scotland was to bring the age down to 16, that would throw up all of these problems, especially in the schooling area. So there are some very specific issues around bringing the age down to 16, which don't exist at the moment because it's 18.